Buddy. Hi, my name is Siobhan McManus, and I'm coming to you from the ESE department. I am so happy to be a part of the EdTech conference this morning, and we would like to welcome you to Igniting Engagement with Technology. Today we'll be joined with Ashley Jones and Jamie Stanley, and we're really excited to see them. First, we need to do a few housekeeping chores. If you'll notice in the upper right-hand corner, we have our EdTech PBC for Twitter, as well as hashtag PBCTechConf. So please share your thoughts and anything you learned today. We'd also like you to use the chat box on the right-hand side to communicate with us. And if it's your first time using the chat box, just go ahead and it will set you up. Like and subscribe us if you like what we're doing. EdTech has done a fantastic job putting this conference together, and we hope you're going to get a lot out of it. I know I've already gotten a lot out of it, and we're just getting started. So I am your moderator. You will see there are wrenches on the side that occasionally will pop up. That will be either me or someone from the EdTech department. And without further ado, I'm going to bring us over to Ashley and Jamie, and we're going to welcome them. And we hope you guys have a fantastic conference.
Definitely.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. I hope everyone's having a great morning.
Welcome to Igniting Engagement with Technology
for Secondary Literacy. All right, so I am Ashley Jones, and I am a teacher at Bach Middle School of the Arts. I also teach in the summer program called Jumpstart. I've been teaching that for the past 6 years, so it's still both Bach, Jumpstart. They're kind of like my heart. I've been teaching for 16 years now. 6th through 8th is my specialty. I've been teaching 7th grade now for like the past 10 years maybe. It's crazy. But I absolutely love middle school level. I love secondary. And the cool thing in the summer is I get to work with kids who are in that older bracket. I do inclusion, regular, and advanced.
And I'm Jamie Stimiel. I'm an ESE teacher, and this is my 20th year teaching in Palm Beach County. I've taught all different types of levels of ESE, from self-contained through inclusion, and we're just really excited to share all the things that we do in our inclusion room with you today.
Yeah. So this is our agenda. We're going to talk about content, and we're going to pair the content with different tools that you can use with technology. So we're going to go over Flipgrid, Jamboard, Newsella, Common Lit, Brain Breaks, Storyboard that, and of course review games, because our kids love games.
So our objective today is for you to leave here with some fun, simple, and effective ways that you can utilize technology to increase your student engagement.
Absolutely. So we recognize, it's been hard. It's been a struggle. Our world has changed so drastically, and especially our kids, our teenagers, our young adults, they're constantly evolving. And so we as educators, we want to reach them. We want to connect with them. That's our goal. Of course, we have the standards. Of course, we have like certain stories that we love, we hold dear, but at the end of the day, it's the kid, and so we have to figure out, okay, what can we do if it's constantly changing? How can we reach them? How can we stay hip? How can we stay in their worlds so that they love our world too? And so relationships, it's key. It starts from day one. As educators, we use all the tools from, poetry of tell me about you and write yourself a letter and what's your goal for the year. Let's take that opportunity from day one to figure out, okay, what makes them tick? What do they like? What music do they listen to? Who do they follow on YouTube or Twitter? What concert, are they going to, or what TV shows, and incorporate that within our content and pair it with our standards so that the kids know they care. We have teachers who actually want to know our world, and so we use that in order to pair it with our technology pieces.
Right. I think we're really good at asking our kids to tell us about themselves.
Yeah.
And then we kind of put that to the side because we jump right in with our standards, but it is so important that we have that connection.
Yeah, it's crucial. So we want you guys to think in your head, from a scale from 1 to 10, how has the engagement been in your classroom this year?
And kind of think about it for a second. We teach 7th grade together. Our 7th graders, the last regular school year they had was in 4th grade. So if your engagement in your room just kind of feels a little off, you're not alone, and there's good reason for it. Some of our kids have been virtual for a while, and so it's hard for them to acclimate back into a classroom.
Yeah, and it's a challenge, and as teachers, we feel that challenge. After we teach a lesson, and if it just didn't go the way we wanted it, we sit back, we talk to colleagues, and we're like, okay, what can we do? How can we move forward in order to make that spark, the next class? All right, so speaking of spark, Jason Reynolds and Elizabeth Acevedo are two authors that I just absolutely adore. And I find ways to implement their literature and their voices in my classroom regularly. And Jamie and I, we work all the time, like, okay, how can we do this? How can we bring in this story or this piece of literature? And so I just wanted to focus in on these two authors because they have both taught me a lesson that it would be great to teach Shakespeare, to teach the Romantics, the Victorians. Like, those are some of the authors that I love dear. But to the 2021 kids, they're like, who? So we have to find these voices, these authors who relate to them. And so once we know our content, we're like, okay, now I know which story I want. I know my objectives, I know my standards, and now I want to, make it engaging for them. So real quickly, with both of these authors, Jason, he talks a lot about how he was always given books. He was always surrounded by books. But these characters he was reading, or even the authors, their voices just didn't relate to him. And so he has dedicated his life in creating stories and creating conflicts and in order to engage kids, especially kids who don't like to read. And the same with Elizabeth. She's just has these beautiful characters that are going through real life obstacles and challenges. And so with that, I just wanted to show them so we all know the challenge. Our kids are going through so much, so we need to find ways to bring literature that's real to them, that's relevant to them, in order for that engagement. And then we piece it with technology.
So speaking of technology, this is one of my favorites, Flipgrid. If you checked out Flipgrid when it was all the craze a couple of years ago when we first started teaching virtually, and you were unimpressed, I was not impressed either. I have to tell you though, they have come leaps and bounds. So if you haven't checked out Flipgrid for a while, definitely go back and check it out now. Flipgrid allows your kids an opportunity to share in a way that is familiar to them and in a way that's engaging. It gives them, it empowers them through their own voice. It allows us as teachers to really get to know our kids. The student that we have in our room is not always the student that is at home. And so when they get to record at home, you get to see some more of that personality that helps you to make those connections that are going to help you to find literature that works for them. So a couple things that I really like about Flipgrid. First of all, you can, in the beginning of the year, a nice, easy way that you can introduce yourself is to do introductions, have your kids do introductions. And another thing that you could do as far as literacy is concerned is you can have them practice point of view, first person, second person, third person, by either doing personal reflections. I think the tutorial videos, I mean, how many of our kids are on YouTube and they do the how-to videos, how to put on makeup and all that stuff. All those are second person. I don't know that they necessarily realize, so to make that connection.
And I'm sure you guys, know that experience to where how many times you have to say you, the second person is you, and they do it all the time.
Yeah.
So now you can make that connection.
Yep, and then you can have them narrate from different perspectives. Book talks are an easy one too. Character role plays. Your daughter just did one as Rapunzel, right? Any kind of reflections to articles that you have posted. Oral reading fluency practice. This is a good one I really like for the ESE side of things, is that kids can record themselves reading aloud, and then they have kind of like a time capsule of their fluency over time, because it stores all their Flipgrids in one space for them to go back to. And as teachers, you get to see their progress with their oral reading fluency as well. Something I'm going to point out in a couple minutes is the augmentative reality feature that they have now, where you can print out QR codes. And
so cool.
It's so cool. So watch, I'll tell you about that in a second. The features, there's a ton of features, and they all are features that our kids are familiar with and that they they probably could run circles around me, honestly, making a Flipgrid, because they're so familiar with Instagram and Snapchat and things like that. So this is the closest that we can get to those in the classroom in a way that I think is productive. And again, for ESE students, it has the closed captioning option. For teachers that co-teach, you can co-teach or have a co-teach situation opportunity. And it's compatible with Android and Apple, both.
Which is important, because we know the debate. You know, I'm an Android.
I'm an Apple.
And so it makes it nice to where it's not always, you feel like, well, especially for Android, we always are like, yeah, we have the Android, but now we can use both tools. And once again, what do our kids love the most? Their phones.
So here, let me show you a little bit about Flipgrid. I'm going to take you into one of my grids. So when you go into Flipgrid, you'll see that you have your groups that are saved, and these are groups that I've created. I'm going to go into the tech conference one today just to show you an example. Here are some of the different titles that I have attached to my grids, and these are things that my kids can now do responses for. As a teacher, if you click on the pencil over here, it gives you the opportunity that you can go ahead and change the prompt however you want, and the title as well. And the recording time is cool because it's anywhere from 15 seconds to 10 minutes. So you can give your kids a specific time frame that you want them to respond in. What I also like is that they have partnered with different companies like Wonderopolis. And so here I've attached one of the Wonderopolis Wonders of the Day. And with that, you have an opportunity to see a video as well as to have text that they can respond to. And so there's that multimedia component to it. Another thing that I wanted to show you was, if I go to this and I want to participate in it, when you add your response, and you're going to get to see Ms. Jones again in a second here, there's lots of options that the kids have as far as what they can upload, how they can present with the mirrored video, they can record their screen. But more importantly to the kids are these effects. So you have filters. Who doesn't love filters? I mean, they make everybody look good, right? Not that I have to use a filter for Ms. Jones. But different filters like they have on their phones. I think there's 18 filters total. There's also the addition of text. You can write on your board. You can have a split screen. So if you have a video on one side, the kids can write on the other side as well. And then the stickers and the GIFs or GIFs, whichever you prefer to say.
There's that debate again.
Yes. So if you're familiar with Jiffy or Giphy on your phone, it's the same thing here. So they can upload those to their Flipgrids. Then they can also upload different types of media, multimedia, pictures and videos and music. And finally, they can add a cute frame if they wanted to. The backdrop, they do have the option of the different backdrops. It's kind of nice if you have a student who maybe doesn't feel super comfortable in their space, or they have they just want to be more creative. Miss Jones is kind of far away, so that's why it's there. We go. So those are the features that I wanted to show you. And then the last thing I wanted to show you was what I was telling you about the QR codes. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to go to my groups, and I'm going to borrow from Ms. May's group here. And when you go to your responses, what's really cool is you can click here to print QR codes. So let's say that you have a book that you wanted to do a review on. You want a student to have a review on. What they could do is record their review, whether it's a promo that the character, one of the characters is doing, or if they want to just do a general review of the book. Then you take this QR code and you just simply put it onto the back of any of your books. So if I wanted to do a review of this book here, I record in my Flipgrid. My teacher then prints out the QR code. We stick it somewhere on this book. And so instead of a student saying to you, hey, is this a good book? You say, check it out, see what your friends think, or see what the character tells you about it. And I think that was a really cool feature that's been added lately.
Yeah, I love it. I really do. You know, because definitely we know when it comes to middle school, high school, you know, some kids, they do struggle in their own skin. And so this allows them to still have a voice. It allows them to record themselves. And if they're uncomfortable, you know, like, you know, Jamie showed us, They can cover to where they don't have themselves, but they still feel like they have a purpose in the class. They still feel part of the community. And I think Flipgrid is phenomenal. All right, so another tool, and this is probably one of my favorites, the Jamboard. Whenever I tell my students we're about to do Jamboard, I'm always like, Jamboard! Like, they're so excited for it. And so with the Jamboard, it's like the whiteboards. You know, we used to use them. I still use them because I have a lot of students who, they're your tactile learners. They like to draw, they like to write, you know, and then you showcase it. But now it's elevated to the Jamboard. And the Jamboard is a virtual whiteboard, and students can use it teachers, we use it as a tool to where we can monitor the students and we can see their responses instantly. And so I wanted to give you some examples of like how you can use the Jamboard. And let me show you on the next slide. So what I like to do with it is I'll put up a Jamboard and it pops up and I can pose like a question. So the question could relate to, let's say I'm starting my unit on dystopians. So I'll ask, what is a perfect world to you? And then the students get to write on a sticky note and then they post it and then you get to see it in the classroom. You could showcase it on your smartboard, you could showcase it on your projector screen, and everyone gets to see the responses. Now, you don't have to have a student put their name, so that sometimes makes students feel, you know, more comfortable in sharing. Or sometimes I'll tell students, you know, in order to get credit for this activity, you have to put your initials. Also, I like to use it to analyze like different pictures and pictures that are relating to our content. I'll do film analysis to where I'll show a clip and then the students respond. You can do cause and effect. You can do making connections. Like, it's endless with what you can do with a Jamboard. And guess what? It's so easy to make. Sometimes it takes me like 2 seconds to put one together. So let me give you some examples of some of my Jamboards that I like to use in the classroom and how you can use them in different ways. So for example, you know how I was talking earlier about posing a question. So I have 4 slides. So the first slide, it's a question relating to All Summer in a Day by Ray Bradbury, to where the students respond. You can see that there's a toolbar. And so most of the time you can write, you can erase, you have a pointer, you have a sticky note, they can embed a picture. And so I always have students pull up a sticky note. And then they write their response. And as soon as they finish writing their response, they just stick it onto the board. So let me show you some examples of boards that have already been used. So the other day I did a writing practice with a group and I showed them different pictures. And I was like, okay guys, from this picture, what kind of a storyline could we create for a narrative writing piece? And so as you can see, they like the dark. We know they like the dark. But as you can see, their responses. And then from there, I get to elaborate and I get to show them, okay, great idea. Now this is what you can do with it, and you can add to it.
And you can move the Post-its around.
Yep.
So if you needed to or wanted to group them, you could. The kids have their laser pointers, so sometimes they'll highlight which one, you know, they agree with. Maybe it wasn't their Post-it, but it's something that they it relates to what they wanted to say, or says it maybe in a way that they couldn't say it.
It just allows the kids to be more interactive, and it allows you to see 100% engagement. Okay, just a couple other little examples in building community. I do this a lot with my students who, you know, they just need sometimes a little break. And so I'll pull up, okay, all right, guys, from 1 through 13, you know, which game was your favorite to play, or what's your favorite to play with your family? And then that sometimes just stems, you know, opportunity to get to know them better. And it's 2 minutes. So other little examples, you know, I'll do, let me show you, like I just finished the fun they had. And so I posed this, I opened up with, how would you like to be taught by a robotic teacher? Or, you know, how does this make you feel for tone and mood? And then the students responded with their sticky notes. And we got to have this discussion. And then I started my short story. So you can use the Jamboard. It could be when you
springboard. It could be a springboard for a lesson.
When you first start a lesson, during, you know, your time with them, like after you teach a material in order to reflect. You can use it later on to assess, did they achieve, you know, your objective that you wanted? But I am a huge advocate for the Jamboard. All right. So a few of my favorite things, or our favorite things, Newsela and Common Lit. So hopefully everyone knows about Newsela and Common Lit. If you don't, it's okay. It's in our portal, but you can just you just type in Newsela, and just a couple of things to highlight. What it is, it's like a search engine. So any topic that you can think of, and you can type it in, and it pops up with news articles, and it's as current as like today. Like news articles for today that happened from yesterday or last night have already popped up.
I get an update every day in my email even. I signed up for it, so I get a new update of whatever the new news is, which is cool.
It's so cool. And it gives you the article. It allows you to pick lexile. So there's usually 4 options of different lexiles. And so you can differentiate and have small groups. You can do it whole class discussions. And then they always pair FSA-like questions. And they're usually like maybe 5 questions. So you can knock that out maybe in 25, 30 minutes. For me, I like to do a lot of close reads, so it takes a little bit longer. But it's such a phenomenal tool to use. And then Common Lit, hopefully, we might be familiar with it. It's the same concept to where any topic, you can type it in, and they'll give you text sets. So for me, like I love the dystopian, I love teaching suspense. So I could just type in dystopian, and they'll give me all these text sets from nonfiction to fiction to use. And the newest feature is Common Lit 360, which I know a lot of my colleagues like to use. And it's a lot like collections that we have, to where it pairs your nonfiction with your fiction, then it pairs different film, it gives you a different, extension, different activities to do with them. And now there's another source. And so I just wanted to kind of highlight those two because they're relevant, they have FSA-like type questions, and it allows you to just kind of create and just have fun with them too.
And there's a lot of access points for all different levels of learners.
Yeah.
So everybody can access the text.
Absolutely. So I just wanted to show you a quick example. Over the summer, there was a huge strike that took place with TikTok. And even though I'm not on TikTok, all my students are, and especially in the summer. And so I would hear their conversations, and I would hear like what they were into. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do a lesson on TikTok. And so I went on Newsela. I found an article. I paired the article with graphic organizers, and then also found some pieces when it came to media. So I found a newscasting, and then Mrs. Stamil helped me out. She brought in some comedy for me. So we put in Jimmy Fallon, and it just makes this text that is so flat sometimes to our kids, like black and white, just come to life. And that, for me, that's what engagement's all about. You can give me an article, you can give us an article, and we're going to find a way, okay, how can we pair it with these technological pieces that makes it more relevant and more engaging for your students. And then another little example with Common Lit, say you have a theme. You can go on Common Lit, you can pull different articles. So as you can see, I pulled some nonfiction articles, and then you can pair it with film, with music, with art, and really, once again, just find a way to connect to your kids. And especially with the art pieces, yes, we teach at Bach, but kids are always drawing, they're always painting, they're always doodling, and so find a way to bring their worlds into your classroom, and it's phenomenal to be able to see, what can happen.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about technology brain breaks, which is kind of an oxymoron because we're going to use technology for a technology brain break.
Yeah.
But the point of it is really sometimes you have to disengage from the content in order to get the most bang for your buck later and maximize that engagement during instructional time. So as a strategies teacher, I teach learning strategies here at Bach. One of the things I teach my kids about is the Pomodoro technique. So there is a link for the Pomodoro. This is just one of many digital Pomodoro tools that you can use. If you're not familiar with it, it's just that. It's like one of those little timers that your grandmother might have had on her kitchen stove. And it helps kids to manage the tasks at hand. And so research has shown that the first 20 minutes of a task that you don't want to do actually register in your brain the same way that pain does, like actual physical pain. So when we ask a kid to do something, especially like a writing task,
Yeah.
they are in pain sometimes if they don't want to do it. So
we've seen it. As soon as you're like, we're writing today, no matter how you try to say it, they're like, oh. And so
it makes sense.
Yep.
It makes sense. With this technique, it breaks it up into chunks. So you can set it as a teacher. Students can put it on their computer. It's good to even help them with homework, managing time at home. But it's 20 minutes on, and then it's a 5-minute break. And then 20 minutes, 5 minutes, 25, 20, and then a larger break. So having that like light at the end of the tunnel, getting them past that first 20 minutes is key, because once they're past that, everything else is a little bit easier. So,
and I just kind of want to interject, because we know that pressure, and some of you might be thinking like, okay, like that's, how can we do that? How can we take a 5-minute break here, a 5-minute break there? Because we feel that pressure, like we've been trained, like bell to bell, bell to bell. But once again, they need those breaks. They're in front of a screen all the time. They're constantly using technology, which is a phenomenal thing, obviously. But every good thing sometimes just needs a little break too. And at first, I'm going to be honest, when Jamie brought me this, like do these brain breaks, I was like, what? Like, brain break, And I was like, okay, I'm going to be open. And I did it with my class. And as I'm doing the jumping jacks with a brain break, I'm like, oh, okay, like this is pretty cool. And so be open to it. But Jamie's going to show you a really cool one that she found.
All right, so this one is, if you just YouTube brain break videos, there's a ton of them. This is one that we're going to showcase. So if you want to participate at home, we can't see you, so there's nothing to be afraid of.
Hey teachers, to celebrate our new feature called Classroom Challenge, we're launching a contest with $4,000 in prizes.
Hold up, stop everything. It's time for a brain break. Time to energize our bodies. Get up off of your seats. We are about to play a game of Would You Rather. And in this game, you're going to have 10 seconds to choose between 2 options. From there, 30 seconds to do the matching activity. Are you ready? Here we go. Round 1. Would you rather be a superhero or a wizard? If you pick superhero, you're doing high knees. If you pick wizard, you're doing butt kicks. Five seconds left.
That's just one example of many of the brain breaks that you can do with your kids. I know that you might be thinking, my kids are not going to be exercising, but you'd be surprised. Like, they just need to move sometimes. So instead of having them go to the bathroom 10 times during the day, when they obviously don't have to go to the bathroom 10 times a day, give them the opportunity to move around and get some of the wiggles out.
Yeah, and even in high school, I know for some of you might be like, okay, how am I going to incorporate that in high school? But my husband teaches high school, and he uses like yoga, or he'll do like more of a meditation or a musical brain break. And they need it. Because not only, are they using technology in our classroom, but once again, they love their phones. They're always on some kind of device. So it's nice to get that little breather, then come back to the content, and it's so much bang for your buck.
You'd be surprised how quickly you can transition back out.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. All right, so I wanted to feature Storyboard that. It's something I discovered a couple years ago, and I love it. And there's definitely different ways to do it. So what is Storyboard that? It's an app that students can use in order to write narrative. You can do plot charts. It's endless what you can do with Storyboard that, but it allows students to create comics. We know the comic genre is huge right now amongst every type of student, even adults. That's why Marvel is making mad money right now in DC. And so they get to create these comic strips, and then you get to take something that they love and make it standard base. So here's some examples of how you can use it. Now, what I've discovered with my kids, like I like Storyboard that a lot, but some of them gave me some feedback saying that there's a lot of features, a lot of tools. And then Pixton, I've discovered it's another way of creating comics, but it's not as like what's the word?
It's just a simplified version.
Yeah, it's more simplified. And so once again, it's that differentiation. You know, maybe you storyboard that with students who you feel, you know, want that extra challenge, and then maybe use Pixton to still achieve the same standard, but it's a little more friendly. But you can do alternative endings, you can do the plot chart, and identify important quotes and then have them illustrate out of the quote, because we're constantly doing evidence. Figurative language examples, illustrate a process. I mean, it's endless what you can do. And then some of the features, they make captions, word bubbles, scene backgrounds, different props. There's a variety of layouts. Like it's pretty cool what these kids come up with. So I wanted to show you an example of one of the storyboard that my students just finished the other day. All right, so like I told you guys, you know, I've been teaching all summer and a day. And so my students created the alternative ending, because it ends with our protagonist not really having a true ending. Like, we don't know what happened next. And so the kids got to make these predictions using the characterization and using the plot that Ray Bradbury gave them in order to come up with something of their own. And so what's cool when it comes to storyboard that is my students, you know, created, I gave them, you know, the specific guidelines and what was required for each animation block. And so here's just some of the examples, you know, that they came up with. And it's a lot of fun.
This is much more fun to do a story plot this way than the traditional, you know, witch's hat, where you're just like, okay, what
Exactly. Because I'm always like, how can I make plot more fun, more engaging for them? Then here's the plot chart. And so also what I love that the kids did was some of them elevated it, and they used a lot of symbolism. And so they took, and maybe the characters, the absent of color, because they were sad or depressed. And I love the way their brains were able to just kind of be set free with storyboard that. All right.
So now we're going to talk about some fun and games. Some of the ones that you might be familiar with are the Monster Quiz or Kahoot, Quizlet Live. We've used them in lots of different ways, and we've listed the things that we like most about them. Especially with Monster Quiz, as somebody that has to definitely collect data all day, every day to make sure that I'm meeting my students' IEP needs. This is really nice because it not only gives you data on accuracy, but also speed, which helps you to see how quickly the students are accessing the information that you're wanting them to know.
I think that's my favorite part of Monster Quiz. You know, like the students are broken up into pairs, and they get to work as a team, and they get to see their team, and it's random. But then I always tell them, like, okay, yes, it's speed, but then we get to also see which group had the best accuracy, which group answered, you know, the questions correctly. And so, you know, they always anticipate that, because then there's ultimately 2 winners, not just 1. And also you get to show the data for Monster Quiz afterwards, and you can show them, okay, so this was the most missed question, or this is the one that everyone got. And that helps me in order to figure out, okay, well, maybe when I thought that I hit that standard, or I thought that the whole class understood it, I have data showing me that they didn't. So I need to reteach that element.
And then with Kahoot, it's very similar, except it's more individual.
Yeah.
So then you can see, again, as a whole for your class, are we ready to move on with the next thing? Do they really understand it like I think they do? Or do we need to take a second and, you know, go over this specific thing one more time, or in a different way?
So the cool thing with Kahoot, if you're not familiar with it, is a couple things. There are a lot of games that have been created. So you can just type in like any story that you're teaching, sometimes even nonfiction pieces or just concepts. Let's say like if you're teaching a science passage and you want to make it fun and photosynthesis, something like that. You can type that in, but just be careful because some of the games that are up, students have created, and there's sometimes a lot of flaws. So definitely take the extra time. You can
do the entire game.
Yeah, and you can take other people's and make it your own. But it's multiple choice, true and false. Also, what I like to do is I like to incorporate film, and so you could always do like a snap clip of something, and then they can analyze or they can connect to, and then they can answer the question.
And then Quizlet Live, also interactive. There's lots of pre-made
Yeah.
decks. It's really like a flashcard kind of practice for the kids,
Yeah.
right? We used it the other day in team mode where we had the kids in relays, and the level of engagement was just, it was so cool. And I think we have enough time. I'm going to show you real quick the video that we had recorded of our students.
And so once again, it's that movement.
All right, so those are 7th graders. I don't think I've seen some of them move that fast in all the time that we've taught them. So, and then, I don't know if you've heard the laughter in the background, like they were having fun, and it was a literacy-based game. So I really thought that was cool to see.
Yeah, because like, you know, it's you take something that we've had for a while, like we've had Quizlet, the flashcards that are virtual, but now, you know, take it and elevate it and have movement in the class and let them be silly. But they're still learning and they're still encouraging each other, like, okay, come on, we've got to get that term, you know, like turn it over, let's go, I want to run.
Mm-hmm. The last thing that we have on here is a website that I came across, EdTech, or Creative EdTech. And what's really cool about this is that this creator has posted.
It's really cool.
I know. I love this front page with Cher in the background in his Jedi outfit. But if you go to the top here, this is Ryan O'Donnell created this site, and he has posted a ton of templates that you can use. So if you wanted to have some kind of reward that's always engaging with the kids, there's scratchers now that you can use. He has a bunch of different graphic organizers that are available. And then here are templates for Instagram and for Twitter. He also has different magazine covers that you can use to incorporate engagement. Facebook. If you keep going down here, he has linked some other templates from other people. They don't all work perfectly, so I'm just going to give you that heads up. But I thought this one was cool with the motivational posters. And then this one, the virtual museum, this link is not currently working, but if you look at the page that we have in our presentation, I've linked the virtual museum, and I believe we're going to put that link in the chat for you guys. It's $15, I think, for unlimited access. So it's a really nice way. I was just walking through the hallway the other day, and I told Ashley, you know, the kids had seen their posters were up in the hallway for a book project that they did, and the kids were anxiously, you know, and excitedly looking for their poster, and there was one that just wasn't up, and the student said to the other student, oh, I guess they just put up the good ones. And that's heartbreaking because, you know, we know that some of the students are spending as much time, if not more, on their work, and maybe it's not as visually appealing. We get that as teachers, you know, we want the hallway to look a certain way, but this gives you, the virtual museum kind of gives you an opportunity to post all of your kids' work so they can all look at it at home, they can share with their families, and it gives them an opportunity to showcase what they've done, the hard work that they put in.
Yeah.
They could do it with any kind of book posters would be what came to mind first, but you really could use it for just about anything.
For anything, like you could do poetry, you know, and have them maybe pair it with a visual, you know, like a drawing that they do, or just poetry in general. And we get it too. You know, there's only so much wall.
That's true.
And so, you know, this allows every single kid, once again, to have a voice, once again, to know that they are important.
And ladies, I'm going to let you wrap up because we have a prize giveaway. So if you could wrap up, that would be awesome.
All right, awesome. Well, this is just our last slide, actually. And here's some more things, some more tools that you could check out. Mac and VIA, if you talk to your media specialist, there are ebooks that are available for free. You can check that out there. The Smithsonian has a site that you can click on that has the virtual online galleries. You can use that to for art and any of your literature. Read Write, if you're not using the Read Write extension, please check it out. It's compatible with most websites. You can use it on Google Forms, so if you have a test that you want the kids to be able to hear, it's a text-to-speech application or extension. And then you fly the University of Florida's Literacy Institute. If you are someone that's working with kids who are, you need more like Wilson type of things or Gillingham type of things, they have Alconin boxes that you can use for word work and to help with fluency. And then finally, in your free time, if you ever just feel like you need a little boost, this is Rita Pearson, and she does a beautiful job of just reminding us what an important role we have in our kids' lives. And so I definitely encourage you to check that out.
So just totally, we're wrapping it up. If you need any help or you want to bounce ideas, or even if you want to share things that are working for you and engagement, please use our email that we gave in the very beginning. I think this is the hardest part going virtual, we don't get to talk with you and meet you, and I want to know what you guys are doing. And if you need any help with anything, let us know. YouTube is phenomenal. So any one of the gadgets we showed you or tools, there's so much like breaking down in different ways and to incorporate or to implement in your classroom. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing this morning with us.
Okay, and we're going to come back to you in just a moment, but I would like to now switch over because we are going to do our giveaway. We appreciate you all being here, and because you are here, we are going to do a spin as soon as I get there. And here we go. So I am going to start collecting comments. If you would like to participate in the drawing, you need to put in hashtag PBC Tech Conference. I'm going to put it in the chat pod. I want to make sure everybody has a chance. You just need to type this into the comments. And as soon as you guys start putting it in, we are going to do the drawing because we want to thank you for being here today. And I just need to get a few more people. Now we have 45 people here. I hope somebody else is going to join in. Right now we have 12 entries. We'd also like to remind you, if you enjoyed this session, please give us a thumbs up. Please feel free to contact, go into your Twitter account, hashtag PBCTechConf. All right, I've got, when I hit 25, we're going to do the drawing. Drum roll, please. That's hashtag PBCTechConf. And we are going to go ahead and we are now going to do our drawing. And the winner is Jessica Gutierrez. Congratulations, Jessica.
You look familiar.
What I need you to do, Jessica, is you are going to contact John Shoemaker at palmbeachschools.org. I'm going to put his, we're going to email you. I have to write your name down so I don't forget.
It was so cool to see the names come up.
I know, isn't that cool? That's a cool story. We really like that one. All right, so Jessica,
there was in there.
Oh,
shout out to
what I'd like to do now is I just want to remind everybody for the rest of your agenda today, we have a session coming up. Session B is coming up at 11 o'clock. Then you will have your lunch and networking session, or hopefully you'll be networking. And then at 12:45, we have session C. Session D is at 1:45, and the closing session, which I do believe is going to have more prizes, is at 2:45. So we do hope that you continue to have an enjoyable day today. And thanks so much, everyone, for being here.
Thank you.
We've done our door prizes. Okay, I was a little late on that one. Oh, and by the way, Jessica, you have won a $25 gift card from Amazon, compliments of Achieve 3000.
very cool.
And there's your EdTech team. And I'd just like to thank everyone for joining us. And we hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. So, Ashley and Jamie, thank you so much for a fantastic session.
Thank you. Have a great day, guys.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye.